ketogenic diets for athletes. So I'm just gonna throw out my opinion here, regardless of what people are citing in the research and all this stuff like that, because I think that sometimes people get too obsessed with the research and we don't think enough about the actual application. And in my experience, oftentimes things that we do in the lab don't have the same transfer into actual application. So what I'm going to talk about here is that, yes, obviously being on a ketogenic diet will affect your performance, but only in certain contexts. And that's an important thing to have in mind here. And also that I believe that there are workarounds. So first off, I'm just going to talk about my own experience and say that I didn't have any issues following a ketogenic diet with my energy levels whenever I did things like boxing. Okay, whether or not people realize that boxing is actually rather aerobic. It's not nearly as glycolytic as people assume it is, or at least my style isn't, right? So I tend to circle and throw jabs, and I try to control the fight by well, I have really unbelievably long arms and very big hands, so I try to use that to my advantage. I would rather not get in close and exchange with somebody whenever I can use my reach to my advantage. It only makes sense to use things that you have, to use those things to your advantage. Why would I put myself at a disadvantage? Now, flip side, MMA. Yes, being on a ketogenic diet certainly makes a difference in MMA. The rounds are longer, and additionally to that, if you know anything about grappling, it's like basically you're under constant tension. Like, you don't get to relax. It's not nearly as aerobic as something like boxing where you kind of can circle and move. And no, like once you guys lock up and then it goes to the ground, you're either, if they're in your guard, you're squeezing the hell out of your legs trying to hold them in your guard, or if you're in their guard, you're trying to make a pass. So yeah, that one definitely you're going to want some carbs for that. Okay, so like I said, context. But I'll say that playing hockey, being on a ketogenic diet didn't really affect me till about like late second period, third period, right? So I felt fine at the beginning of the game. I definitely didn't notice anything at all. And then as the game went on, I would start to run out of energy. And we all know that your body is capable of replenishing glycogen on its own. You have this whole process of gluconeogenesis, big fancy word that just basically means that your body produces its own glucose, and that glucose gets stored in the muscle. So you're basically producing your own sugar, like to put it in layman's terms, and storing that in the muscle for energy to use for later. Now, easy workaround, I only played hockey one night a week because I'm old, so I played adult league, and it was a really easy solution. I could follow a ketogenic diet all the rest of the week, and then the night that I wanted to play, I just grabbed a Gatorade or a Powerade. I drank half of it before the game, and then during the game I would just sip on it, and that's all it took. I didn't have any more energy issues after that. So that was pretty simple. All I had to do was just basically time some carbs right before the game, and then during the game, just finish the other half of the Gatorade or Powerade, and I was good to go. In fact, I'm going to say something blasphemous here, and it will really upset people, but just a Coca-Cola. It's even got the caffeine in it. So, I drink half of it before a game, and then sip on the other half of it during the game. Important note, though, if you're going to use Coca-Cola, open it way ahead of time and let it go flat. Just a little piece of advice. If you're playing hockey, open it way ahead of time and make sure that it goes flat, and then you'll be fine. But in any case, the point being that I usually didn't do that. I usually didn't do that just because playing adult league was usually like 10 or 11 at night. I don't want a big whack of caffeine because after I finish this game, I'm going to go home, shower, and go to bed. So it wouldn't make sense to do that. But sometimes we'd have like a game on a Saturday or something, and or like a Sunday afternoon in the summers, because the rinks are basically empty in the summers, so that was fine. In any case, the point that I'm sharing here is that it doesn't affect every sport equally. So in 2013, I went down to University of Tampa, and I was in Jake Wilson's lab, and all the guys there were all on high-carb diets, and I told them, no, I'm just doing this ketogenic diet because I'm trying to get my weight down to 135. I was planning on competing in weightlifting, and I was telling them how it didn't affect my strength at all. Everyone was really shocked by that. But it's weightlifting, so it's all singles. You do one snatch, and then you rest. You do one snatch, and you rest. Or you do a clean and jerk, and then you rest. It's not like you're not blowing through tons of calories even. It's not that energy demanding in terms of how much energy you need to mobilize. It's a snatch or it's a clean. Like, it's that quick and it's done. So it's not like it's not glycolytic. And like I said, all the guys there in that lab were all surprised that I was doing this ketogenic diet thing, but I told them all about it. They were all doing high carb at the time, and I have to say that they seemed very receptive to it. They definitely seemed like they. I usually get a lot of weird judgment from people whenever I would tell them that I was doing a ketogenic diet. I get people that would like roll their eyes and be like, "Oh, athletes can't do that," but I did it. And that was how I got down to 135 pounds. Like, that wasn't an easy cut for me. I've walked around at roughly 150 to 155 most of my entire life, adult life. I'm just, I'd like to tell you I'm 5'10", but I'm just barely over 5'9", and I walk around at roughly 155 pounds. So making that cut to 135 was not an easy cut for me. That was like, and it's not like I had a ton of fat to lose either. So I had to get very, very lean to get down there. The ketogenic diet was how I did it, and I really don't feel that it affected my strength in any negative way at all. It wasn't like I lost strength. I was actually surprised by it. I thought even just making the cut from 155 to 135 I would have a massive drop off in strength, and I really didn't. Like, I definitely went through little bumps. Like, I had a week here or a week there where I was feeling kind of lousy, but then it would come back. So I didn't gain a lot of strength making a 20-pound cut. That didn't happen. I didn't gain any strength, but my lifts stayed the same. At least at the end, they were the same as they were in the beginning. So, like, don't get me wrong, across the course of the cut, I had some weird weeks where there was like a dip and it took some time for my body to adjust to it. But in any case, I'm off on a tangent. The point being that following a ketogenic diet didn't negatively impact my ability to perform weightlifting, the sport weightlifting. And I would assume that it's probably very similar for powerlifters if they base their training around a lot of singles. If they're trying to do sets of 10, I'm going to do 5 sets of 10, then yeah, you're probably going to suffer for it. But if you're spending most of your time doing, doubles and singles, maybe a couple triples, it's probably not going to negatively impact you. And that's the point that I want people to understand here as a takeaway. Like, do ketogenic diets reduce your ability to perform? Well, maybe yes, if you're sprinting, running, something very glycolytic, your mile time or something like that. But for a sport like hammer throw or shot put, weightlifting, powerlifting, things that are just a single burst of energy and then you rest, it really probably won't affect you much, if at all. And then if you're playing a sport like hockey, where I mentioned, you can follow a ketogenic diet the whole rest of the week, and then just the night that I was playing, I would have my carbs before and during, and it magically, or not so magically, allowed me to maintain a high level of energy during the game, and I didn't bonk. So that's all I have here. I just want to share my experience. I didn't want to dive into the research because I feel like absolutely everybody out there has already done videos on the research. So I thought that instead of talking about research, I would talk about practical application. And yeah, that was my experience, and I assume that it works the same for everyone else because there's nothing special about me.